the #Rugby Chat podcast. I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, a podcast, YouTube channel, Twitter account, and website. And yes, if you think we're all flustered, there's a good reason. This show and link went out 2 seconds ago, and we're all on. This is absolutely by the skin of your teeth kind of stuff. But hey, that's how we roll. And what awful sound does that sound like? That's how we roll. I mean, it makes it sound like I'm trying to be 16 or something stupid and all trendy. Yay, let's get on down. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to your favorite podcasting app. 5 stars, obviously. Other stars are available. But why would you do that kind of stuff? That would just be rude. And if you'd like to watch what happens behind the covers, clearly we are here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. bringing, and you can also join in the 5 questions live on Twitter. They will have just posted, so you know what we're going to talk about. Joining me this evening is the wonderful, the fantastic, the man who sits in the cold, in the rain, in the West Stand. It is the one, the only, Ashwin. How you doing?
I'm flying by the seat of my pants.
Fabulous. So am I, because that whole intro started before I decided who I was going to say. So they're all wonderful and superb. The best dressed lady in the house with her Chiefs attire on is Jess. How you doing?
I'm good. I just want to make it clear there's a poppy here, but I can't wear it up here because then you can't see it. I'm good. Thanks.
Red on red. Oh, that's very good. And the man who is going in disguise because he already knows we're talking about the death of Australian rugby is Sean in his All Blacks jersey. How are you doing, sir?
Not too bad, Paul. How are you? I'm glad I'm disguised.
Are you legally allowed to wear Wallabies and All Blacks at the same time? Or do I need to call the police?
Israel.
I think you better, Jess.
Oh, dear me. Now, yes, the fashion police. Oh, they were talking about the fashion police because the fashion police is now is a big story today in New Zealand after a cinema in one of our local, one of our small towns decided to ban the wearing of pajamas to go to the cinema. Pajamas, onesies, and dressing gowns are apparently not considered acceptable wear outside of the house. But hey, in rural New Zealand, I'm not so sure. I think that might go down quite well. Anyway, enough of me insulting everybody, and let's get into this. Henry Spate was carrying the stretcher of one of the Jaguares players off the pitch. Now, was that good sportsmanship, or was that him not really concentrating on his main job, and that's maybe why the Brumbies lost the game? Who wants to kick me off? That's actually Sean. We're talking about Australia. Let's go with you.
Sean? I thought it was Shane.
Shane. Oh, no. Oh.
No.
Sorry, there's a Sean at work, and I've just been, one of those days. Shane.
I thought that was fantastic sportsmanship, actually. I think it's you don't see that a lot in sport. Maybe sometimes in professional football, but certainly in rugby. There's a thing about rugby, it's a macemanship, and I actually support Henry Spate in his actions, tending to an injured player that he felt that he might have been the reason for that injury by going for the run and the Argentinian player in the tackle. And yeah, I respect that sportsmanship. I thought it was a good level.
Ashwin,
good on him. Actually, we've got moments of that through our game. I think another famous moment was when Tana laid, I think it was Colin Chavez from Wales out flat, or was it? But anyway, in Hamilton, and he got obviously the ball popped loose. The All Blacks ran off down the field, and he stayed with the Welsh player to keep his head in the right position and stay over the top, so to speak, and look after him. We've had other instances where opposition players have stayed over the top of the player to protect them because there's players still running on around them. So, no, absolutely, it's part of our game. And I love the fact that it happened because once it's gone, it's gone. It's not something that will come back.
Now, okay, I'm going to be the anti-person here. I agree. During play, player gets in, just stand over them, protect them. If someone gets knocked out, make sure they don't swallow their tongue. That kind of stuff I like to see. But once the medics are there, leave it to the medics. Get back, get your head back in the game, get back amongst your teammates, because you're going to have to start playing whatever's happened. So I think hanging around the injured player at that point, once the medics are there, it's the medics, it's their job. Your job is to play rugby. Go and see him afterwards in the sheds to say, are you okay? But not on the pitch. Jesse, which side are you going to?
I mean, it might be a cultural thing. I don't know. I think that was a really nice thing to do. I think that was, if that's what he felt like doing in the moment, that's okay.
Oh,
it can't all be about rugby. Like, he's a person. He just reacted probably off instinct, and I think it was a nice thing to do.
Where's the humanity, Paul?
I know.
Oh dear, clearly I'm the evil controversial one here. Anyone who's saying, actually, Henry Spake, you've got a job to do. Do your job. Let the medics do their job.
Human first, rugby player second, though.
People remember that it's not how you win, it's how many points you win by. That people remember how you play. It's whether you win or not. People remember. No, that's true. No, I think that actually once the medics are there, let the medics do their job. Get back in your team, circle up, talk tactics. What are you going to do next? Full props to him for going to the airport and making sure that the players were okay and seeing the players off. Absolutely love that. Going to the sheds afterwards, totally up for that as well. And also protecting the player while play is going on. But no, hanging around there, I think is a lack of professionalism personally.
We live in a PC world. He has to look after the person.
I don't think it's that deep. I don't think he did it for like the brownie points or whatever. I think he just,
There's just something in him.
It came to him,
It's in him and it just happened.
Yeah, it's probably the kind of guy he is,
Oh, God, no, I'm not trying to suggest that he was doing this to be
score points
on social media or scoring any points. I'm just suggesting that he should have been getting his head back in.
I think it was a big game for Henry. I think it was his 100th game of Super Rugby, which is the first Fijian person of descent to do so, to make 100 games at Super Rugby, which is an outstanding achievement. And I think that he felt compelled. And these sort of things bring emotions out in other Australians like myself. I thought it was a very kind rugby. We love a hard game of rugby. We all do, and I don't think anyone disagrees there. But there's a brother on the ground, and he wanted to make sure he was all right, and he felt compelled to do that. And I think that's just wonderful sportsmanship. Just wonderful sportsmanship by a great player.
No, I mean, again, yeah, congrats to him getting all the caps, and that's all wonderful. Clearly, I'm in a minority of one here, but I will stand up for the good fight. Anyway, we'll move on then, because clearly, yes,
it's okay, Paul. You're in New Zealand. Minorities rule.
For the first time he's been in a minority, eh?
It's your show.
It is my show. And as the privileged middle-aged white guy who's in charge of the show, who's the boss, all you guys behave.
Oh, we read our script wrong, eh? Sorry, we totally agree with you in everything you say.
Oh, dear me. So, what is the answer for Australian rugby? All four teams lost this weekend, and let's rub it in by going through the scores. The Waratahs lost 0-29 to the Lions. The Reds lost 12-36 to the Chiefs. The Bulls beat the Rebels 28-10, and the Brumbies lost to the Jaguares 20-25. So, actually, as clearly the Australians don't know how to fix it, we're not going to start over the sea. Ashwin, tell us, how should Australia, what's the answer for them? How should they fix this?
You're asking the guy that supports the Blues how the Australians going to fix rugby. Actually, when you look at that list there, the one that would have to be the most worrying for Australian rugby is the Waratahs 0, Lions 29. because the Waratahs were the ones that were on the rise and actually performing, and to be and effectively hammered by the Lions at home would be deeply concerning for the Waratahs, and personally gives me hope for a fortnight's time, but that's another story. So I think that's the key one. You look at the Brumbies, Huggiwaris. Look, the Huggiwaris are a team, if you don't pay attention, can bite you, and that's what's happened there. The Bulls Rebels, it's a away game in the Republic, tough ask for the Rebels. The Reds Chiefs, sorry Shane, but the Chiefs are actually, I don't know what it is with them, but they are a very good team. The number of injuries they pulled together, and anybody who thought that the Reds were going to win that game beforehand was probably like me when I was picking the Blues to beat the Highlanders. So look, as I said, the three of those you're sort of not too surprised by. It's the Waratahs one that is the big concern, I would say. In terms of what does Australian rugby do, look, it's the problem with Australian rugby is something that's happened over the last 3-4 years. So it's going to take another 2-3 years to come right, if it comes right. They've got to build their player numbers up. Then player numbers have taken a hit, obviously going to rival codes, etc. as well. So it's the youth coming through. So that's just the case of that's got to build up, and you've got to get those numbers back again.
Yeah, I think the focus in Australia is rugby league. That's more.
Oh, it is the focus, and obviously Shane will have the better idea on this. But it is the focus. In fact, AFL's the biggest sport over there.
Yeah, so it's way down the list.
So it's way down the list. But the thing is that it wasn't this bad. It's always been third or fourth sport. It wasn't this bad. But let's get Shane's view on things.
Yeah.
Pull that noose from around your neck.
Yeah. All right, here I go again. Well, Ashwin's right. The Chiefs are a very good side, and there's a reason why I wear a cap when I come on, Paul. As I think I mentioned that before. It's the lack of hair from being a Red supporter. The second thing that I do want to mention is that Australian rugby is like a good or bad lamb steak. A good lamb steak sees good rugby produced. Hence, when the All Blacks lost to us in Brisbane, that was the best night of my life. But there is, Ashwin's right, the depth issue. We're seeing that the South Africans are adapting to their traditional four sides since two sides were culled. We're seeing Australian rugby no different in trans-Tasman derbies against the New Zealand sides with four sides, and it didn't matter if we had a fifth this year. And the issue is also about cultural, and I don't mean racial or anything. I mean in terms of we have the team culture and the right aspects to bring up future Wallabies? And it seems like people want to go to grassroots games in Sydney or Brisbane rather than watch the Reds or the Waratahs. And I've got to say, one thing the Reds did right was we at least scored 12 points.
Only because Damien went off.
But I'm worried for the future of all our sides. And there is no quick fix. And we've got 1 year to a World Cup. We are facing the Irish in June. The rot really started during the England series 2 years ago when you thumped us, Paul.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Bring back good memories, because the Six Nations wasn't great. Okay, I think there is the quality and the skill level in Australia. I think the problem is coaching, and that your coaches aren't really up to it. Daryl, there isn't the same experience in the coaching. We've got 3 new coaches out of 4. Wessels was coach of the Force and has come over to the Rebels. But yeah, three out of the four franchises have new coaches. The fourth franchise, the Waratahs, was perhaps had the worst coach of the lot, and a lot of people thought, why is he still there? And I think he showed his weakness this weekend by something we've heard over the last couple of weeks has been, Naravoro, great player, but what we'd like to see is him come inside and get through some more work. So that's what we saw this week. And he got through more work inside and went nowhere. And we went away from where he was so devastating, which was when he got space out wide, when he got a bit of speed up and was one-on-one, then he was really dangerous. Trying to bring him inside, and we saw that he is a limited player in some ways. But Darryl Gibson just listened to the press and listened to all the advice too much and didn't stick to his guns. Now, putting Folau on the wing rather than playing at fullback, maybe that worked. Maybe he was right to listen that time. But I think that I don't think he. I don't think he's a strong. I don't think he's a head coach. Maybe he's a good forwards coach. Maybe he's a good backs coach. I'm not quite sure which one he is. But anyway, as a head coach, I don't think he's the right guy, or director of rugby, or whatever you want to call it. We then go up to the Reds. Brad Thorne had one good season at NRC, but let's be honest, he's a total novice. Now, we complain about the fact that Tanaramunga was considered a novice coming to the Blues. He'd already been coaching at Toulon and been head coach at Counties for something like 3 seasons before he got the role. Brad Thorne was strength and conditioning coach at the Reds last season, apparently, and now he's suddenly head coach. That's just crazy. There's just no coaching pathways. That's where I think Australia's going wrong. There's my little rant.
No, look, I'd agree with you on. I always want to say Debbie Gibson, Daryl Gibson. Showing my age there. Jess and Shane going, who?
You like it? Not a lot.
But look, Daryl Gibson. I was surprised that he got held on to. But it's I don't think that the problems that Australian rugby have are too different to what the Blues have. And that's why it's just like coaching's just one of the things. As you pointed out, Brad Thorne on the weekend when he was in the interviews and the like was he was going, I don't know, don't know what went wrong. I don't know. And it's just like, well, the response is coming out of him is not exactly going to build any confidence in the rest of the team. But even at a media conference after the game, but I just thought, hey, it's the coaching's not right. The player depth might be there, but it's not coming through. Yeah, look, there's lots of things wrong, and it says to say, obviously Raylene Castle coming on board now. Is she going to make a difference at the top with the leadership? It starts at the top. It's got to work its way right through the organisation. And the organisation in this instance being the whole country as opposed to just one province with the Blues. But it has to start at the top and go work its way through. And that's just a matter of time. Yeah, coaches, definitely, you're not wrong. The only ones that you'd say got strong coaching is the Brumbies, but it's not really paying any dividends there. When you got Larkham, who's obviously been in the background as a assistant coach for a long time now, moving up the ranks. Laurie Fisher's involved there, I believe. Or am I wrong there?
Larkham's left because Larkham's now with the Wallabies.
Oh, right. Yep. So is it Fisher back again?
Yep, Fisher's back again.
But he's back.
Right.
He's back.
Merry-go-round to Fisher.
He's back as an assistant coach,
right?
As head coach. So I can't remember the head coach's name. Now, if I can't remember the head coach's name, then
Dan McKellar.
There we go. I'm not sure Dan McKellar has the pedigree to be a Super Rugby coach either. To be honest, I mean, someone I don't know.
You send them an email.
Well, me, I would just backside and elbow. I wouldn't know the difference between the two to be a coach. Because I mean, whilst I've given Colin Cooper some hints, the way that the way the Chiefs should win is throw the ball behind Damien McKenzie. Damien McKenzie does not like tidy ball. He likes messy ball. So throw it behind him. Make him pick it up, and then make him play from broken play. That's the way for the Chiefs to win. The way for the Blues to win is very simple. The Blues need to be playing let's get physical in the changing room before the game. because they don't get physical straight away.
Okay.
And that's how the Blues. And these are my coaching tips. I'm not sure that these. This is kind of what the players are looking for.
Interesting enough on the physicality front. Tana said that again after the Sunwolves game, is that some of they won that, but there's players just not physical enough. And you look at the Aussie sides, they're not physical enough either. When you look at one of the things I look at in professional rugby these days is the fact is that reality is there's just not that much difference between the player capabilities in the squads. The skill sets are available there. It's the execution of those skill sets and fronting on the day. You look at and we're talking in the office today at work, Brody Retallick, he just turns up and that motor runs at full speed for 80 minutes. And he has the desire to win the game. And you have to question amongst some of the players in the Australian teams and the Blues team whether that desire is high enough, strong enough to win games.
Now, I better respond to that because I do agree with you, Ashwin, again. This is quite good. We're agreeing on a lot of things.
It's awful. What makes good radio is conflict, not agreement.
Radio. This is 2018. It's YouTube.
as the Aussie here, he's absolutely right. You look at Retallick and you look at the confidence of Jess D-Mac. He's a very confident player when he's on song, and I'm really glad to see him on song.
Jess D-Mac. Little known fact.
I love using the nickname. You see him do things that virtually our players can't do. It's just stand off and pass, and
run. He makes things happen.
He makes things happen. And if you don't have those sort of confidence, then you have to ask yourself what the coaching ability is like. And you guys are right. There is a lot wrong.
You go back to our first question in terms of Spate being professional about looking after his job. One thing that does my head in is the guy that makes a tackle and he thinks, "Oh, I've done my job." No, sorry. You got to get back up. Sorry. Yep. Bad. Naughty Ashwin. You got to get back up and get back in that defensive line, because if you're not back there, there's a hole there. And there's too many players in the teams that we're talking about now and referencing now. The fact is that I've made my tackle, I've done my job, you guys get in the line and stop the next guy. And it's like, no, get up and get back there. And the thing that's frustrating for me with the Blues in particular is that you've got good role models in that sense, at All Black level of your Richie McCaws gone past, and now your Retallicks and your Whitelocks and the forwards that get up and do that. And it's just like, do you guys not see what it takes to get a black jersey?
Like 20 concussions? That must be when D-Mac got one on the weekend. He's like, if I'm going to be a great.
Oh dear. So yes, attitude and coaching are two of the big things. Yes, there's a whole bunch of crowds and stuff, but hey, if people are going to be dissing the game so much in the press and they're going to be losing all the time, you're not going to get good crowds. So we need to start the play first, and then we can look at crowds later.
We're talking about that later, aren't we?
Yeah, we are actually. Moving on though, before we get to that, over in the great old US of A. They have the MRL, or Major League Rugby, kicked off on the weekend. So what do you guys make of it? Did any of you even notice?
Didn't have a clue until this moment. Well, I read the notes, but
no, I saw. I obviously I didn't watch any of the games, but I kept a keen interest on obviously your Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds to see what the reports were coming through. I mean, obviously they're not going to rubbish it, but it sounded like it wasn't a bad start for a competition. I don't think it's going to be any great shakes to start with. It's obviously got to build a reputation, and it might draw some players over at some stage. Look, it's the first couple of years it's going to be bedding down, and we've seen competitions in the US come and go. The first thing is just the survival of this competition, and so it's just got to start building and put the foundations in place to build a good competition, and then that'll bring an audience in.
No, absolutely. So a couple of comments there. Didn't see any games not televised or live streamed. And so if you're in the USA, then you have to. It's on NBC or ESPN Plus, so you have to pay. If you're outside of the USA, I'm not sure about Canada. That's always a grey area as to whether Canada is part of the USA or not. But if you're outside of North America, then it's live streamed on the MRL Facebook page, and I believe also on YouTube as well. I watched it on Facebook Live, so that's when I
what time were the games
that's where I saw it. So, what time are the games on?
No, were they on?
Were they on? So there was a 9 o'clock game on Friday. So so that was 9 o'clock game on Saturday or Sunday. Which day
Saturday.
was it?
AM, PM.
Yeah, what
AM.
Saturday?
Okay.
You know, the off the top of my head, there's some of the games are actually not bad in terms of for New Zealand times anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'll quickly run through the fixtures, and then I'll tell you about the games that are coming up this weekend. So Houston beat NOLA. So Houston Sabercats, lost to NOLA Gold, 26-35. Glendale Raptors beat the Austin Elite 41-26, and the Seattle Seawolves beat the San Diego Legion 39-23, with the Utah Warriors having a week off. So that was the first round of games. Going on from that, so this coming weekend, we have the Houston Sabercats against the Austin Elite, and that is at 7:30 a.m. New Zealand time. We have the San Diego Legion facing the Utah Warriors. That will be at 11:30 a.m. Sunday. I will be doing post live reaction to that game with Rugby NO America from Twitter. And then the final game, which is Seattle Seawolves against Glendale Raptors, is at 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. I will be doing post-match reaction to that one, but no one has stepped up yet and said they'll do it with me. So maybe that'll be a solo show unless someone fancies watching that game and doing post-match reaction with me. Invite out there, folks. Cool. Hit me up. So those are the games. I will be doing my round 2 predictions next week. Next week. That'll be after the games. That'd be stupid, Paul. I'll do round 2 reactions tomorrow. They'll come out Wednesday. So look out for those as well. I thought it was great. I thought as you said, Austin, it happened. That's the first thing. Not only did it happen, but it looks like it's going to happen next weekend. Also, we have New York, Denver, and a Canadian team already lined up to join next season, which will take us from 7 to 10 teams. So, yeah, there are already teams there. The big difference between this and Pro Rugby is that Pro Rugby was centrally owned, centrally funded, and when he got upset and threw his toys out the pram, the whole thing collapsed. It also didn't help that he didn't pay his bills, but that's beside the point. And obviously, it is allegedly, before anyone takes me to court. Whereas this one, each of these clubs are self-funded. It's not centrally funded and all centrally owned. So one of these clubs can quite happily collapse and go bankrupt, but it won't finish off the league. So from that point of view, it's much more likely to survive. Not that I'm wishing any of these teams to go bankrupt. And,
no, look, just on that front, I mean, I think it's America's full of a lot of rich people. So all you've got to do is find a rich person that loves rugby and buys into a team. And it's not a money-making venture for them. It's a passion for them. Like our French friend, Mr. who I can't pronounce his name, Maro. Yeah, that guy.
Bouchelac.
Yeah, that one. So I mean, like, that's all that has to happen. And as you said, it only if one team horribly falls over, it's one team that horribly falls over. So as long as the rugby quality keeps improving, it might not. I mean, as you said, the rugby wasn't too bad over the weekend. As long as that standard's maintained and keeps improving, then you can imagine that it should grow.
Yeah. I suppose they would lose against New Zealand provincial side or a Currie Cup side. So
why don't we get the Australian teams to play them?
Might create some excitement.
Yeah, they might get a win.
Well, they did bring in a Fiji side, didn't they, to the NRC last year, and they managed
won.
to. They managed to
Yeah, probably.
They
Maybe you
did-
should send the Blues over there.
Oh, wow. God, what's that about? Hey, you make fun of the Aussies.
Oh, sorry, I got confused.
You've got to remember, yeah, they're our hated team, but they're our hated team. That's what we've got to be careful about this before, look after them in that kind of sense. So yes, I'm a member of the group you don't kind of really like, but don't let anyone else make fun out of them. Well, Fiji didn't win it because Fiji drew because Brad Thorne's team won it, didn't they? Queensland Country, I think. Fiji drew it, but they managed to carefully make sure the NRC season overlapped into the international season, and all the Fiji players went off to play for Fiji. So when it came to the playoffs, Fiji drew suddenly had a different team, which didn't help.
A point to note, and I've got to say this as part Fiji Indian, and very proud of it. The Fijian lads in the NRC were not there to make the numbers. They weren't there to make up the numbers. They were there to play rugby, and very serious rugby. And I think they finished preliminary finalist, which is fantastic for a first-team side, a first-year side in the NRC.
No, they were very. I saw some of their play. Actually, it was really good. It was rather exciting. It's what we expect from Fijian teams. Actually, the style of rugby, which it does bring in the punters.
And they had a couple of hiccups in the first game around discipline, but they cleaned that up during the season, which was good. And as you say, they made the finals, but as I say, because it overlapped with the international season, a lot of their players left to go play international rugby, as you'd expect. The whole point of the Fiji draw, and unfortunately, that meant they were weakened when it came to finals time, which is when you need your strongest team. So hopefully, they'll sort that out over the next season or two. But no, they're a fabulous addition to the NRC. So unlike the Blues to Super Rugby. Anyway, sorry. Opinion piece coming out of South Africa is saying that Super Rugby is dead. Are they right? Who wants to kick off and tell me yes or no?
I wouldn't say it's dead, but Jesus, it really does need to have a kick up the bum in terms of marketing. I don't think that it's a well-marketed product. I think the product's there. The South African teams have stepped up this year as well in terms of from last year. I think, you look at the Sharks' performance when they're over here. Obviously, they beat the Blues, but they pushed the Hurricanes as well. They had a weird hiccup when they got home, but that's weird. But I mean, no, but the teams have picked up. But look, it's not just a South African problem. It's a problem, obviously, an Australian problem, New Zealand. I mean, for the life of me, I can't understand how the Highlanders can't get it close to a sellout in the Tupperware container every time they play at home. With the type of team that they've got, the results that they get, that stadium should be close to sold out area. You got to remember, one end of that stadium is a void, where they park buses. Okay, when the Highlanders are playing, so it's only three-sided stadium when the Highlanders are playing.
So there
should be concerns around.
Austin, have you been to Tupperware container?
Yes, I have.
Oh God, I was going to say, Jess, tell us what it's like, because she was there.
Well, yeah, I was literally about to chime in. I was really disappointed with the turnout when I was there, and the halftime entertainment was really confusing and disjointed and just very weird. It was like two people dressed as chickens just dancing. It was like very confusing. It wasn't like a choreographed dance. They were just doing
because it's designed for the cerebral student.
Yeah, but there's like police officers in the zoo part. Like, how wild can you get when there's a cop like 2 meters away from you?
No, look, yeah. So, if the Blues had the success of the Highlanders, there'd be 30 to 35,000 at Eden Park each week.
Okay, now there's articles out of South Africa. So I'm just going to a couple of South African things. One of them is low attendance, and they said that one of the biggest derby games of the season happened last weekend, and no one turned up. Brett says derbies hold no interest for audiences outside the country of their origin. Well, I think the New Zealand ones do, to be fair, but absolutely. Derby games in South Africa are just repeats of the Currie Cup. So what's the point? It's just more of the same rugby that they're going to see later in the year anyway. Is it just getting a bit too samey?
Well, Paul, if I could say so, I think firstly South African rugby did the right thing by going back to its traditional 4 Super Rugby franchises that they started off with in 1996. I think that when you look at it, they have actually done the better out of the 2 conferences in terms of culling sides. So I'm a bit surprised with the crowd numbers, to be honest, but I would have thought that sending 2 sides to Europe might be a sense of transitional phase, perhaps, to eventually sending all 6 sides to the Europe competition, and maybe Super Rugby becomes Trans-Tasman. So I don't know. I honestly hope that Super Rugby remains as it stands, but it's yet to be seen in South Africa.
I'm pretty convinced that we will see more teams be added in 2020, probably from Fiji and Argentina as a minimum. I think one of the things you see in New Zealand is, and I'm not seeing Auckland Rugby tweet this out. They were tweeting this out, I think, last season, was that they had a player playing in every single Super Rugby team some weekends. If we look at the and Jesse's trying to figure out who they were, and for some of the other sides, yes, you do perhaps struggle, but you see there are players from Northland playing for the Highlanders, which is absolutely as far south as you go. That's just you've got players from the other provinces mixing themselves up. I mean, Canterbury and the Crusaders are probably the only 2 provinces where it's also almost exclusively straight to the Super Rugby side, whereas all the other ones mix and match, and you get players from all over the place. So the players are playing.
Jack Goodhue, sorry, he's from Northland. He plays for the Crusaders.
Yep. Now I was thinking more from the province going upwards,
going out,
going out rather than sort of going. But so these players play with each other, and you don't have to play for Auckland to play for the Blues. You don't have to play for the Crusaders to play for, play for Canterbury to play for the Crusaders. You don't have to play for whoever it is down in Dunedin. I've gone blank. Otago. Whereas over in South Africa, if you want to play for the Reds, for the Lions, you have to play for the Golden Lions. If you want to play for the Bulls, you have to play for the Blue Bulls. If you want to play for the Stormers, you have to play for Western Province. If you're playing for Griquas, if you're playing for the Pumas, if you're playing for Boland, you're not going to get picked for the Super Rugby side. And I think that's a problem, and that's what makes those Currie Cup games too similar, is that it's the same players as well. It's not a mix-up. It's the same competition, just without your internationals.
Yep.
Whereas,
and it's interesting, I think one of the things that obviously not great for the Blues, but the fact is that you got players that are from different provinces playing in different teams. So even if your team isn't playing, your Super Rugby team isn't playing, you might have a favourite player of yours from your region that's playing for another Super Rugby team, and you'll follow that. I mean, yeah. The other thing I think that's happened is that, I mean, obviously we've talked about the intensity levels in the New Zealand derby matches. You look forward to a South African derby, and it seems to fall flat at times. It's a hit and miss. I think the Lions Bulls one was a good one, but then you had the Stormers Shark one that sort of like you thought, oh, this could be interesting, and it fell flat. So that week in, week out intensity level in the games out of the Republic aren't there all the time.
No, it's not. That's true. And moving on to our last question, why does New Zealand have such a problem sorting out stadiums?
Because there was an earthquake in Christchurch.
So we've got the earthquake in Christchurch, fine. And it's taken, but they still haven't decided what they're going to build down there or how they're going to replace it. Have you heard of the latest one in Hamilton, where they're arguing over adding? So clearly,
what do they want to do? Go on.
In the end, that's got the behind the post that's got the road behind it. I've gone blank as to what end.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They are going to be
both have roads behind them, actually.
Yeah, there's both roads. Yeah, both ends there's roads behind them.
I think you mean
Green Zone or Possum End?
Yeah, Possum's End. Yeah,
Possum's End.
Possum's End. Okay.
R.I.P. Possum.
So
He's still alive. Just.
just dead to you.
Just known as Crane.
So at Possum's End, what they're going to do is they're going to buy themselves a bunch of containers, put them on stilts, and have a bunch of executive boxes behind the stand as part of containers.
Is that going to happen, or just like an idea?
This has gone to planning consent this week.
It's got legs.
If you had a quick look in the in the notes, there's a nice link there for you to read about. So the and how much they say it's going to cost? I think it's going to cost $1.5 million, and the Chiefs are going to cover $1.7 million, and the Chiefs Rugby is going to cover that. Now they're arguing over how much about the money to get resource consent. Resource consent is going to cost $15,000.
Chunk change.
Yeah, that's
change in a 1.7 million investment, you would think.
Yeah.
Except somehow the Chiefs Rugby are arguing with Hamilton City Council as to who pays it. Chiefs Rugby are saying, well, if we might not build it if you don't pay for that $15,000 resource consent. And Hamilton Council is going, oh, why should we pay for a private enterprise to have to be able to build these things, which will bring them in revenue $30,000 a year? So it's just ludicrous. The council's going to get its money back in 1 year. It's peanuts in a it's a rounding error. It's less than 1% of the investment, and they're arguing about that as to whether they will actually build these containers or not.
What was it? What did he say? It was 1.5 mil?
1.7.
1.7. Construction projects usually run over by 20 to 30% anyway. So as you say, it's not even a rounding error.
Just put the merch up like $5 a piece to make their money.
So there's that piece. We still, if we get down to in Auckland, we argue about stadiums. Sorry, we're not there anymore. They argue about stadiums every single year. Should Mount Smart be allowed to still be a rugby or should Rugby League be forced to go to Albany? Should Eden Park be there, or should we be building a stadium under the sea at the wharf? Should we still at Western Springs? Should we still have racing around in car racing? It's a constant argument in Auckland, and then we get to Christchurch where they still can't decide if they're going to have a roof or not.
Question, Paul, on that.
Yep.
Do I noticed that mainly the home grounds, like Hamilton, Dunedin, Eden Park, Westpac, and I think what's Amy Park for the Crusaders. AMI Park for the Crusaders. Do Super Rugby sides think of an incentive of maybe sending one or two games, their home games, to maybe a suburban or rural area?
They do.
They do. So, well, they still okay. So, the Highlanders have decided to send their regional game out to Fiji
against the Chiefs, which is real cool for us.
It's a home game.
It is an away game for the Chiefs this year, whereas the two previous years it's been a home game for the Chiefs that they've taken out there. The Chiefs will take one game to Rotorua, for example. Auckland would normally take a game up to Albany, but aren't this year.
It was the Napier game.
The Highlanders played in Invercargill too, I think.
Not this year. They do
not this year.
I think they did the other year.
Yeah, they do normally. This year, their one game away is going to be up in Fiji. And you're right, Jess. The
Hurricanes went to Napier.
Went to Napier as well. So they do take one game away on average. I'm a bit surprised Crusaders aren't taking one game up to Nelson. I think they normally, or Plymouth.
Nelson's got the All Blacks game this year, though, so maybe that's why.
There you go. That's why. So normally they do take one game out to provinces, but so the Crusaders are missing out this year. So no, that they do that, and that is good. Unfortunately, Taranaki, where I am now, New Plymouth, is not going to get on this year because our stand is not earthquake proof. So,
are you Hurricanes or Chiefs?
We're Chiefs.
Oh, okay.
Nowadays, we switched, so we would have had a Chiefs game.
They had a divorce from the Canes.
We did.
Fair enough. I would too. which
is why we had a rather interesting or racist. Bit of
Oh, the
marketing.
land wars stuff. Yeah, that was not good.
Not clever at all. So I get what they were trying to do, but their terminology was
ignorant.
Was not on point. Yeah, it was ignorant. It was even as a foreigner over here, even I saw that and went, whoa, hello, that's a bit close to the mark.
That won't happen when I'm doing the social media for them. Don't worry.
What for the Hurricanes?
I'll take any team. I'll be pro Hurricanes if they pay me enough.
Whoa, there we go. Theory me, what a what's the word I'm looking for? Mercenary.
Just in case anyone is listening or watching that has connections to the Hurricanes.
Just in case anyone's. Well, at least hundreds of people will watch this.
There we go.
Oh.
Yeah, that's me. 2019 Hurricanes all the way.
Oh dear me! Even though I must say the live chat does seem to be talking more about South African school rugby than it is about what we're talking about. But hey, there we go. Whatever suits them. Let's go around then. So yes, I think it's a problem, and councillors need to get their act together and work with the rugby unions to actually get.
See, if Possum went for city council, if he was on Hamilton City Council, this would not be a problem.
Yeah. I was actually, when you mentioned those containers at the end, I thought there was going to be an issue that they weren't going to allow it, because I remember at the World Cup they actually built a temporary stand out the back, that side of the ground, which entrance was outside the stadium to get to that stand. So yeah.
Okay, so two things around that. Well, part of the argument is also that if the council spend their $15,000, they expect to be able to keep the containers in case the Chiefs go play elsewhere. And the Chiefs are like, how we're paying 1.7 million towards this, you're paying 15,000, and you want to keep the containers? No. If we leave Hamilton, we're taking our containers with us. So there is a bit of that going on.
Wouldn't it be crazy if Possum rented out a container and took his chainsaw in there? Just to get that. Wouldn't that be amazing? I hope he does that.
He'd probably have to still go through. Problem will be he still have to go through security, and they'll probably confiscate his chainsaw when he's going through.
Pieces, take it in a duffel bag or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's part of the argument as well. The other one is so to put up that temporary stand costs $300,000. So they're looking at the future, going basically unless they have a Super Rugby final there, they're not going to do it. To be honest, and they said actually they could either remove the containers and put the temporary stand up, or they could put the temporary stand up above the containers. So that's been architectured into the solution.
Look, I'm quite surprised that they're talking about putting the Chiefs, that is, putting in the containers for corporate boxes, because it's not like the ground's selling out. I mean, I know it's a different market, etc., but there's still opportunity there to sell the ground out.
They think that's where the money is. The money's in corporate.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they obviously never been to a game with me, because Green Zone's just fine.
Yeah. I've only ever been to the Green Zone at Waikato.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So Jess is saying she'll do corporate hospitality in the Green Zone. Just pay her $100 and she'll sort that all out for corporates. No worries. They'll even get cans of Waikato draft.
Yeah, complimentary with the lemon slice.
See, it comes with cocktails.
So Christchurch Stadium can only be built if it's got a roof on it. It'd be stupid to build it without a roof on it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the hailstorm at the weekend was a massive sales pitch for having a roof, and everyone came out and said, "Yes, we should have had a roof for that." That was really sad to see. I don't know if you're watching the game, but the camera watched the stand, and suddenly the front of the stand had just emptied as they all ran to the back of the stand to try and get some cover.
It just came out of nowhere.
It was
soft down there, eh?
That's the second year in a row, actually. Sunwolves and the Crusaders have had a wet weather game.
Oh, mate, it's interesting that they're complaining. Lancaster Park did not have a roof on it, and NPC games used to be played through the middle of winter. I think the first final in Canberra between the Crusaders and the Brumbies had snow on the sideline. It's not like this sort of weather hasn't been experienced before. It's just the fact that what we've seen with the Tupperware container in Dunedin is that you can get a better standard of rugby by having a roof. But there's been many a staunch rugby player that's played through adverse conditions.
Do you think it puts the Highlanders at a disadvantage to play so many games inside? Do you think that affects them at all? Like when they have to play outside and then...
No, actually, quite the reverse, actually. I think when you look at it, I think they're just getting so used to playing that high-tempo game that it's, it actually benefits them when they go somewhere else. Their fitness levels seem to be higher and, they seem to be a lot... Yeah, they just seem to be a lot more physically active team. Buzzing.
And I'm sure they train outside, so it's not a problem with the other when they go visit the other teams. Any other comments about stadiums, or shall we crack on to the predictions?
Move on.
Crack-a-lacking.
So the Hurricanes host the Sunwolves. Obviously, Sunwolves coming off the back of a decent performance against the Crusaders, but they still lost by 22 points. Ashwin, what's your prediction? How many will the Hurricanes win by?
It's interesting, I mean, you sort of look at that last week. The Crusaders obviously brought on some of their sub players. Hurricanes will probably do the same. I went 30 with the Crusaders. I would have gone 30 with the Hurricanes if they picked their top team, but I'm guessing they'll rest players and it'll be 15 to 20 in it. So let's go 20.
Jess?
I'm going to say by 3.
Hurricanes by 3?
Be a good game.
Yep. I know what I'm about. Trust me on this. I was going to say a draw, but by 3 is being nice.
See, are you sure that you can be bought into actually to like the Hurricanes?
Well, wouldn't that be a great thing for the team and for their marketing if I can be convinced?
Well, that is true. Shane, what's your margin?
It'll be over by half time, I believe, Paul. I think Hurricanes by quite a substantial margin. I'd say about 25 plus. Okay,
so I've gone Hurricanes by 20. We then head over to South Africa. Stormers versus the Rebels. Jess?
Stormers 7.
Shane?
Stormers 15 plus.
Ooh, Ashwin?
Yes. I'd say Stormers by 3 because I just don't think that they're actually... I'm going Stormers 3.
I'm going Stormers by 5. The Stormers haven't lost at home yet, and they have lost every single away game. Perhaps the worst travellers in the entire competition. Then, Shane, your Reds against the Lions. How do you see this one going?
Lions by about 22.
Whoa, that's big. Lions by 22.
I'll be precise.
Ashwin?
Yeah, I'm going Lions by 20. I think that with the way that the forwards went last week for the Reds, the big Lions forwards could run over them. Could make it life difficult.
Jess?
I'm going to go right in the middle, Lions by 21. Just to...
well, I'm the most conservative in this one. I'm going Lions by 10. Ashwin, you're going to love this one. Blues by Blues Jaguares.
What are you doing?
What?
Your score. Anyway, anywho. Look, I think
you can read it.
It'll depend on what players we can put out on the field, being the Blues. But being at the game, I'm hoping by 10. I've got hope and I'm holding on to it.
Jess?
The Jaguares have a little bit of, momentum at the moment. So I'm going to say it's going to be a draw.
A draw? Shane?
I think the Blues by 14.
Cheers, mate.
I think the Blues are in for a big one.
I'm going Jaguares by 3.
Shame on you.
I've not got my Blues jersey on tonight.
Shame.
I came up to that one and just thought, I can't actually. I can't choose. I just don't trust the Blues will win it. Brumbies versus the Crusaders. So Jess, how many will the Crusaders win by?
Crusaders are going to win by 20 at least.
Shane?
I reckon the Crusaders are going to win by about 25.
Ashwin?
I was going to go Crusaders by 7.
Wow. I've gone Crusaders by 10. So, yeah, a nice big range there, but we're all going Crusaders. Let's be honest. Last one of the round, Bulls versus the Highlanders. Shane, kick us off the last one.
I think the Highlanders will win that by about 10.
Ashwin?
Yeah, I'm going Highlanders by 10 because they seem to do well in South Africa.
Jess?
I'm going to go for the Bulls.
Oh, by how many?
By 5.
And I'm going the Highlanders by 7. So we've got a couple of split decisions in there. Obviously, the Blues Hagarizer went differently, and then the Bulls Highlanders. Actually, also the Stormers Rebels. I think did one of us go Rebels. Anyway, it's
Yeah, I did.
Oh, did you?
yeah. So a few split decisions. This should be a good round of rugby. On Thursday night, obviously, I'll be back at 8 o'clock, and we'll go in depth into these games. Also running through some of the squads that we have that have been announced. We should hopefully have all those squads except for perhaps the Bulls Highlanders in the last game to go through on that one for a change. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone who's been on the live chat. And don't forget, thumbs up and all that kind of stuff. Subscribe, yada, yada, yada. Shane, let people know where they can have a chat with you between the games.
At School of Mate, SCOOLM8 on Twitter. Come talk rugby.
Cool. Jess? I was going to say Jessica. But Jess.
Jessica Rabbit.
I mean, not quite, but thank you. You can find me on Twitter at JAM8391.
And Ashwin.
NZ Fatso on Twitter, and I'll see you there.
Thank you, everybody. Also, I mean, Paul, the guy behind Driving Maul, a Twitter account, YouTube channel, podcast, and website, all that kind of stuff. Some reason Shane's got stuck on the screen. I don't know how technical issues there. So I can't do my finger pointing, but there'll be a face somewhere up there, and there'll be a box, all that kind of stuff on the recording. So do watch some more videos and do subscribe, obviously. And 5-star reviews on the podcast. Thank you very much. We'll be back on Thursday, actually back tomorrow night with a exclusive show for my Patreons. So, hey, why don't you invest $1 a month? Anyway, enjoy everybody you're watching.